and went all the way over at one time to the pickle factory by the railroad tracks. Is that correct?
Well, I actually live on Nibby
And you
Lane.
live on Nibby Lane.
He lives in Pickle Factory.
But my father had owned this property, bought it from Old Man Botto, and actually owned where the ramp is now. The state came in and took that property from him. But I remember basically where this right-of-way is, where the wires are, was over my father's Victory Garden, because he probably started it during the war. I remember it as a kid. He had a little Gravely tractor that we used to grow corn and beans and stuff like that. But I specifically remember, in fact, I'm just looking at this old map. There's a white section here. My father told me that they excavated behind these houses back here. You can see a real big drop off. You probably saw this on this section where that old car was in the shed. There's an extreme drop off of a cliff, which is not natural. That they excavated all this sand and fill to raise the Motor Parkway. I don't think they used it for making cement, because it was really, as kids, it was white sand. They had dug so much of the earth away, it was white sand down there. So the bottom of our house, or behind the street lot line, we would walk down into what we called the gully, which was all this white sand. Then there was a narrow strip of woods, maybe 20, 30 feet wide, and then my father's garden, which is underneath these power lines. Then there was another wider section of woods that led up to the Motor Parkway. And my father would have owned up to the right-of-way of the Motor Parkway. So definitely, it was, these wires were here, it was definitely on this side of it by another 50 yards, maybe 100 yards, which would be about what Lenny was saying. But I remember the parkway being out there, and certainly not in the back of the street lots going to Caroline Avenue. It had to be out there in the middle of the expressway.
There you go.
For that, you can't argue with that.
I also,
Wait a minute, you convinced Dave.
No, well.
All right, Dave. All right.
I also,
Okay.
I also remember Powell Avenue. Now, my father,
School Street, right?
it was School
School
Street.
Street.
My father moved here in 1936 and bought his house in 1939.
So in '36, the Motor Parkway was still active too.
He
Yeah.
was still riding cars. I don't.
Yeah,
I
it
didn't
was.
even
It
know-
closed
okay.
in '38. So.
Okay. So he was here, but he used to drive a motor. He's from the Bronx. He was in a motorcycle. He said that Powell Avenue used to have a humpback bridge, and he used to take that thing as fast as he could to try and get airborne on the other side of the bridge.
Because that was a good idea, right?
Now, since then, that had all been filled in, the bridge taken away, and there used to be a ramp from Powell Avenue down to the Motor Parkway, which used to go under Powell Avenue. But they just wrecked it, flattened it down, and then there was a ramp going down to the Motor Parkway, and there's no more bridge.
Right.
Again, that being way on the other side of these tension wires. These tension wires were built when that road was still there.
Right.
That's what disproves Caroline.
Good.
See,
Well, thank you,
what Bob
Paul.
remembers, I kind of asked him, and it was the reason for getting started on this. I mean, Bob can't be here, but he could tell me some of the stories. He just remembers from Powell Avenue and taking, the motor park, but he actually rode his bike. He could ride his bike. Now, Bob is 1 in 36, we're 83. And he could ride his bike on back here all the way to Wantor Avenue. The bridges were intact enough to take his bicycle, and that was the big thing, was to ride your bike. North of it, he doesn't know too much, but this he does remember. And he remembered the bridge, and he said there was actually a dip in the road on Norcross, around where the bridge went. He felt there was a dip in the road, and he said there were two curves.
That was to get underneath the bridge, probably. They probably dug it below grade.
And so he does remember that, and he just remembers riding his bike back here. And I was trying to get landmarks. There were no landmarks. And when you think about it, I said, where the houses. Rob and Colleen live in his house now on Norcross. So they backyard onto this property next to Paul Merrin's house.
If you take one of the streets that you want to say is close to the Motor Parkway, it's Ellen Street on the other side. Ellen Street is only about 25 to 30 feet, supposedly. And I confirmed that. Again, I did it with the measurement with the calipers. Then I have a cousin who lives there, and he's a little bit younger than me. And he confirmed it, that he said it was within 25 to 50 feet of the